Last guy here, I already talked about him, Josh Jacobs. I'm starting to fade this guy. I don't know. I don't know why. Really, I don't know why. I can't get my head around Josh Jacobs. It's like he wants to be a good running back. He has all the traits, but for some reason, it doesn't feel right. I don't know why. It's just one of those gut feelings.
Yeah, he is a good running back, and he's behind a pretty decent offensive line too, right? I'm not worried about him on the ground. I think he'll do fine. He's not Derrick Henry on the ground. He's closer to Nick Chubb on the ground, right? He's good. He's not going to be used in the passing game. He wasn't used last year in the passing game. They re-signed Jalen Richard, which is clearly John Gruden saying we're not using Josh Jacobs in the passing game. They brought in Lynn Bowden Jr., who is a wide receiver / running back / quarterback at Kentucky. He's going to be used out of the backfield in the passing game. It's not Josh Jacobs as a 3-down back. It's Josh Jacobs as a 2.5 down back. He's going to get some targets, but it's not going to be enough to make him an absolute workhorse.
So the argument, we had made this argument on the sophomore running back episode. I felt very strong. Again, this was early on, back in, I don't know, fucking mid-COVID, March, April. I was trying to make the argument that he is going to see an uptick just primarily because he's the most talented player on the entire team, right? Maybe not
the best pass catcher on that team too, in my opinion.
Right, and maybe outside of adding Henry Ruggs, we'll see what happens with Henry Ruggs. But maybe outside of him, he's arguably the best and talented player on that team. So why not give the best player on your team the ball? And Gruden is not afraid to enter in a scenario where there's a lot of workload. Okay. Now, what's interesting about this is when you feel like, okay, so yes, he on the field, when you watch the film, he's a great running back. You can see this. So I'm gonna go through some of the advanced stats like I did with Joe Mixon. I'm gonna run them through the Josh Jacob lens. Number 6 in juke rate. Number 8 in evaded tackles. Number 3 in breakaway runs. Number 9 in yards created. Number 12 in goal line carries. And number 7 in overall rushing yards with 1,150. Okay, so he's in the top 12 of all major individual statistical stats that a running back should have. Okay, but then he goes and finishes RB 21 on the season and only finishes RB 16 in points per game. Both of those very concerning. So that's why you kind of muster up this gut feel. Let me throw this stat at you. This is gonna fucking hit everybody sideways. He was number 90 in fantasy points per opportunity, which means the motherfucker is getting a ton of volume. And for whatever reason, just can't cash in more points per every opportunity that he gets. I think part of that is the lack of targets in the passing games, right? So in PPR workload, he's not getting enough fantasy points. And for whatever reason, just not getting enough points per opportunity.
And that can be looked at as an opportunity for growth as well, right?
That's what you got to hope for. That's kind of why I'm like, man, I'm fading him, but I don't want to. I can see he's a good running back. I think what I'm trying to say is when I started off this little tangent, I was like, it doesn't feel right. And then you go and look at these numbers, and it's like, yeah, you're right. Something's off here. He's a great running back, but then he's number 90 in points per fantasy opportunity. And you're like, all right, this is not a marriage that I can't understand what's going on here. It's like two couples, and you're like, what the fuck? How are they together? Right? It's like, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and one more thing, right? So a lot of these guys that we have above of Josh Jacobs are in relatively good offenses, right? We don't really know what we're going to have with the Las Vegas Raiders. Even if they're in the upper half of scoring offenses, a lot of those could come from big breakaway plays by Tyrell Williams or Henry Ruggs or even Brian Edwards, who I like. You've got Darren Waller out there, who is not a efficient tight end. He's a volume tight end. We don't have to go into that again. So I like Josh Jacobs. I really do. I think he's really talented. I made a really dumb trade with him in a dynasty league to sell him away last year that I regret. But in 2020, he's not a running back one for me, but he's on that fringe.